Hey beautiful, welcome in to Dr. Sarah's Cafe. I recorded this video about a year ago for a different channel, but I think it's a much better fit for this channel, and I wanted to share it here for you all to enjoy. So I was hanging out with some friends at one of their apartments, and they were looking at this like retro astrology book, and one of them asked me, well, what's your moon sign? And I said, I don't really know what my moon sign is. I know my sun sign is Gemini. Of course, we all know that. June 6th, baby. But I had vaguely remembered like needing the place I was born and the time I was born to look at some chart to find, what I now know to be my ascendant sign. So I was like, oh, I think maybe I'm double Gemini. And they were like, no. They insisted that we look it up that night. So I'm texting my mom again to see confirm what my birth time is, and we looked it up, and it turns out I am a Capricorn moon. Okay, shout out to Capricorns. And they were like, it makes so much more sense, because I knew there had to be something grounding you, right? Like one of the people said, I knew there was something grounding you, because Gemini energy is known for being all over the place. Y'all already know. And so my Capricorn moon does give me that like slight hint of earthiness, you know what I mean? And so I was looking at the book. The book they had was descriptions of people's personalities based on the combination of their sun sign and their moon sign. So for me, Gemini sun, Capricorn moon, I read the description and I felt so seen. It was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. This is me. So when we talk about like, oh, well, they're a Gemini and their personality is not like that, I always ask, well, what's their moon sign? Most beautiful blessings of learning astrology and numerology and tarot is that greater self-awareness, but also greater self-acceptance, okay? Because we can talk about self-awareness, but honey, it's another thing to practice self-acceptance. And knowing more about my birth chart and listening to other astrologers on YouTube and things like that, I really started to understand like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, right? Like I am meant to learn certain lessons in this lifetime, and I am meant to focus on certain things in this lifetime, and it's okay if other people don't, right? Which is the second biggest, most significant way that astrology has truly, truly helped my healing journey. Y'all, I want y'all to listen to this, okay? Astrology has helped me stop comparing and judging. So when I understood that I'm uniquely Gemini sun, Capricorn moon, and all the other planets and aspects, I was like, okay, so then someone who's a Gemini sun but a Pisces moon would naturally have a different personality, and I'm naturally going to have a different personality than a Taurus or, a Leo, right? And so I was like, oh, I was already like not trying to judge people, and I was already like, yeah, let people be themselves, let people be authentic. But there's something about the study and the practice of astrology where every time I started to like make a judgment of like, oh, why are they doing that? Or why don't they do it this way? I would go back to, I was like, oh, I wonder what their moon sign is, right? And so instead of like judging them or thinking they should be some kind of way, I started to get more curious about people and the choices that were driving them and their motivations and just their inclinations towards life and towards themselves and towards, other humans. And this is really important, y'all, in terms of the healing journey, because you've heard it before probably, but comparison is the thief of joy. And so it helps me stop comparing myself. It helps me stop comparing or having expectations or judgments for other people who are making wildly different choices than me. Now, keep in mind, we're not talking about people actively harming folks, but just in terms of personality quirks and lifestyle choices, it just makes so much more sense. And I'm able to really just appreciate and get curious about myself and about other people without the need for comparison or judgment. And if you know anything about the healing journey, those are two things that if you can sort of wean yourself off of that, you gonna be cooking with grease, okay? And it's so true, because we each have our own unique assignment as to why we incarnated on this planet at this particular time, Yeah. And so related to that, astrology can help us understand subconscious patterns and help us to understand like ongoing, seemingly chronic struggles that we might have. The thing where I just can't get over this, or I can't seem to overcome XYZ. Astrology has given me insight into those things for myself and in my life, and I know many other people use it in that way as well. And so depending on what it is, it can help you actually overcome that obstacle or that hurdle or that, stumbling block. But oftentimes astrology can just give you insights into how to leverage it, right? Where you can turn that weakness into a strength, or like Chiron in astrology, which is the wounded healer, right? That place where we feel most wounded. Astrology can show us or point us to how we can now use that to help inspire and heal others, hence why I'm here. But in many things with astrology, it's not about like getting rid of it or completely changing it. Sometimes it can be that. Other times it's about managing it, navigating it, again, leveraging it to be a benefit to you and that sort of thing. And since really getting into astrology and geeking out about it on the internets, I've also leaned more into the sense of belonging and unity, right? And this is something I've always believed in, right? I've always been a spiritual person. I've always believed that we are connected, that we are divinely created. But there's something about the language and the vernacular and the vocabulary of astrology that really hits home. This planet, this cosmos, me, you, the sun, the moon, the stars, the rain, the trees. I don't know if you can hear the rain in the background. It's very pleasant today. That we really do impact each other on an energetic level, and that our fates really are intertwined and interconnected. And in thinking this, it's also not only the people who are alive now on the planet, but we're also connected to all of our ancestors, like collective ancestors, as well as our specific DNA, familial lineages. And the beautiful thing is that we're connected to future generations as well, And so I just love that. I just soak that up. It really reminds me of the song Jericho by Inaiko. I think that's how you pronounce their name, where they say, heavenly protected, never alone, tapped in, I'm connected to the unknown. The one thing about astrology is that it's all about cycles, okay? Cycles, like literally the rotation of stars, planets, comets, moons, right? And so those cycles, those orbits, those rotations have provided me with a great rhythm for reflection. And I'm not the only one here. Lots of people use the moon cycles in particular because they happen about every 2 weeks or approximately twice a month. They just tend to be a really helpful and really useful rhythm for reflection that's in tune with, that's aligned with the natural vibrations and harmonies of the planet and of the universe. And really closely tied to the rhythm of reflection is that astrology has been a really, really great tool for setting intentions. And so astrology helps with the timing, but it also helps with the themes for what you set intentions on and what you reflect on. The art and science of astrology, the more I learn about it, the more vast it becomes. Most people know their sun sign, their zodiac sign based on their birthday season. But, when you start to realize that there are all planets in the solar system have an impact or have some type of influence, and then those planets have unique aspects to each other. And then there are different tiers of astrology or subjects of astrology, like mundane astrology, which studies world events, right? Or electional astrology, which helps you decide timing. There's financial astrology, there's medical astrology, and my personal favorite, which is locational astrology, also known as astrocartography, which I actually use in my digital nomad journeys, right? So it occurred to me that I know a lot more about astrology than just about all my friends and family. And yet the more I know, the more I realize how much I don't know. And I'm okay not being an expert at astrology. I kind of like that I have this bottomless array of knowledge and information and wisdom to explore indefinitely. I like that there's still some mystery to it and that there will likely always be mystery to it. Even professional astrologers who've been doing this for 40 or 50 years will still have new things to learn because we continue to learn more about the cosmos. We continue to learn more about ourselves. And that's the concept behind Reach for the Stars. As long as I'm alive, I will continue to hype up growth and evolution and lifelong learning. Click on one of the videos below and I'll see you on the other side. Much love.